regret. The cost of their choices is destroying them. You're all they pray for. That is the first message coming through here. And this does not feel light at all. This feels like somebody sitting inside the full aftermath of what they chose, not what they imagined it would feel like. Not the version they justified to themselves. The real thing, the part that arrives later when the noise is gone and the heart is left with truth. So let's go ahead and see where you are in this connection right now. What is your overall energy here? Here is the Five of Cups. So yes, there has been sorrow here. I feel you have to grieve not only the person, but the way it all unfolded. There is sadness over what was lost, but also over what never got protected properly, because I do not feel this was a minor bond. I feel it touched you deeply, and when something sacred is mishandled, the heartbreak carries a different weight. For many of you, the hardest part was not only their absence, it was knowing that different choices could have changed everything. And where is this person right now? Here is the Nine of Swords. Wow. So yes, this person is mentally and emotionally unraveling. I feel there are sleepless moments here, replaying self-accusation, inner torment. They may keep circling the same memories, the same crossroads, the same mistakes, what they said, what they failed to say, what they did, what they failed to do. And I feel the cost of all that is landing on them in a very brutal way. Now, because sometimes a person can outrun honesty for a while, but they cannot outrun consequence forever. And what is going on for both of you right now? Here is judgment. Beautiful, because this says the connection has reached a reckoning point. Something cannot stay buried. Something cannot stay undefined. There is an awakening here, a calling back up of truth. And I feel both of you are standing at the edge of a more honest phase now. What else for you? Here is wounded trust. Yes, and that fits completely. Because I feel your heart still remembers the bond, but it also remembers the damage. It remembers the emptiness. It remembers what it cost to keep hoping while they kept delaying. So your energy is not simple. It is tender, but guarded. There may still be feeling there, but there is also memory, and for them, here is remorse. Wow. Yes, this is somebody feeling the full spiritual and emotional weight of what happened. I feel they know now that their choices had a real price, and I feel part of what is destroying them is knowing they created a loss they did not truly understand at the time for both of you. Here is Soul Cord. Beautiful, so yes, the bond is still alive. And that is one reason the pain is as strong as it is, because when a connection means little, mistakes do not echo like this. But when a bond carries soul depth, choices keep speaking long after they are made. All right, 2 cards coming out for you. Here's restraint and here's dignity. Yes, I feel you've had to hold yourself together. You have had to preserve your own worth. You may have wanted to run after answers. You may have wanted to say everything. But I feel your spirit learned that love cannot survive on your effort alone. For them, here's collapse. Wow, so yes, I do feel they are falling apart inwardly more than they show. But inside, this has been crushing them. And for both of you, here is reckoning. So yes, this connection has reached the point where what was done cannot stay unexamined. Here is your next energy. What do you need to release? Wow. Okay, let's clarify that. Here is the Star. Beautiful. So yes, there is heartbreak here, but there is also healing trying to rise. There is also restoration trying to rise, and I feel Spirit is asking you not to chain your future to their awakening. Their tears may be real, their remorse may be real, but your heart still deserves light. Your life still deserves movement, and I feel you have changed too, because with the Five of Cups here, yes, there was sorrow. Yes, there was longing, but I do not feel you are the same version of yourself anymore. I feel you are wiser through the pain now. So the main energy coming through is this. This person is being broken open by what their choices cost. They are seeing the damage. They are feeling the emptiness. But the deeper truth here is not only that they miss you, it is that consequence has finally caught up to them. And once the heart understands what it truly threw away, it stops pretending the loss is small. I feel that is exactly where they are now. The grief is louder than denial, and this is why the reading begins here, not with fantasy, but with the ache that comes after choices harden into reality. Okay, let's keep going because I want to look at some more details here. What are you thinking overall about this person and about this connection right now? Here is the Ace of Cups, the Three of Wands, and the Hermit. So even after everything, part of you still knows this mattered. The Ace of Cups tells me your heart still recognizes the purity that was once here. The Three of Wands says some part of you still senses there was more possible, and the Hermit says you have done a lot of this processing alone. You may have withdrawn, you may have gone quiet, you may have had to make sense of a very deep bond without enough help from the other side. So I do not feel your thoughts are shallow. I feel they are reflective and careful. You have been trying to understand whether what was lost is truly gone or only sitting at a distance, and what are they thinking about you right now? Here is the King of Cups, the Six of Cups, and the Eight of Pentacles. Wow. So this person thinks of you with tenderness, memory, and unfinished devotion. The King of Cups says their feelings are deeper than they often show. The Six of Cups says they keep returning to old moments, old sweetness, old innocence. And the Eight of Pentacles says they think about what they should have done better. This is not just missing you. This is reviewing the work they failed to do, reviewing the care they withheld, reviewing the effort they delayed. And I feel that is what hurts them because they know the connection needed more from them than they gave. What are you feeling overall about them right now? Here is the Moon, the Lovers, and the Four of Swords. The Moon says your feelings have lived in uncertainty for too long. The Lover says the bond still carries significance in your heart. And the Four of Swords says you have needed distance from the emotional noise. So I feel your heart has not been empty. It has been tired. There is still a thread there, but there is also exhaustion from carrying questions. I feel part of you still feels the soul of this, and another part refuses to keep bleeding for confusion. And how are they feeling about you right now? Here is the Queen of Cups, the Five of Pentacles, and the Four of Pentacles. Wow, this person feels your absence like a wound. The Queen of Cups says they know your heart was real. The Five of Pentacles says they feel cut off from warmth they once could have leaned into. And the Four of Pentacles says they are clinging now because they know what losing you feels like. Let's clarify that Four of Pentacles. Here is the Ten of Wands. Yes. So this regret is heavy. It is not graceful. I feel this person is carrying guilt, longing, and emotional strain all at once. And one more, here is the Page of Cups. So underneath all the heaviness, there is still a softer impulse. I feel they want to say something. I feel they want to reach through the wreckage somehow. But the heart of the problem is this. They want to pour out what they feel now after the damage has already taught them what mattered. And that makes everything more emotional and more fragile. So let's look at your intentions toward them right now. Here is the Queen of Swords, the Six of Pentacles, and Death. Wow. So your intention is not to stay inside the old version of this. The Queen of Swords says you want truth and self-respect. The Six of Pentacles says you want balance, real give and take, not one-sided emotional labor. And Death says you are not available for the same old pattern anymore. If anything is to happen here, it cannot return in the same shape it left. And what are their intentions towards you right now? Here is the Knight of Cups, the Five of Swords, the World, and Temperance. Wow. So yes, there is a desire to come towards you emotionally. The Knight of Cups says they want to express something. The Five of Swords says ego, shame, and mental conflict are still causing interference. The World says they know a cycle has completed and something must change now. And Temperance says they want to find a better way to approach you than before. What exactly has been blocking them? Here's the Two of Swords. Yes, denial, avoidance. Not wanting to face what their own choices would eventually cost. Sometimes a person delays because they think delay protects them, but really delay just builds the loss. Let's get another block here. Here is the Devil, and I feel this person kept choosing the habit that felt easier in the moment while not seeing how much harder it would become later. But now later has arrived. And I feel that is what is cracking them open, because once the consequences become emotional reality, there is nowhere left to hide from the truth of what was done. And I feel that is why this part matters. It shows not only that they hurt, but that they finally understand what the hurting cost. That changes the meaning of everything. All right, let's look at the shared field between you now, because this is where the connection shows what it is doing on its own. How are you both thinking in this connection? Here is the Two of Cups. Wow. So yes, there is mutual emotional recognition here. This is not one person making meaning while the other feels nothing. There is a shared awareness. There is a mirrored pull both of, this connection has not been ordinary. And even if it has lived inside silence, the bond itself has still been active. How are you both feeling? Here is the Nine of Swords. Yes. That makes sense because this has brought distress on both sides. For you, the distress may have been grief, uncertainty, and emotional fatigue. For them, the distress may have been guilt, fear, and self-confrontation. But either way, this connection has not left either heart untouched. Let's clarify that Nine of Swords. Here is the Three of Pentacles. So the challenge has not been whether there was love or whether there was significance. The challenge has been how to bring this into real life in a healthy way, how to make it functional, how to make it honest, how to move from inner knowing into outer structure. Because that is what I keep feeling. The bond itself is alive, but it needs form, it needs action, it needs a bridge between feeling and lived reality. So let's look at where this connection is headed in the near future. Here is the Hierophant, the Page of Cups, and the Star Woe. With the Hierophant, I feel the next phase wants integrity. It wants seriousness. It wants something handled with more maturity than before. The Page of Cups says there is a sincere opening trying to happen. A message, an admission, or some soft reaching out from the heart. And the Star says there is healing in that movement. There is relief in that movement. There is a cleaner emotional atmosphere trying to rise. I really like this combination because the connection is moving from hidden pressure into visible tenderness. Let's get another card for the near future. Here is the Eight of Wands. Wow, yes. Movement, communication, energy that begins to travel after too much stagnation. And here is the Hermit reversed. Wow. Okay, so someone is coming out of isolation. Simone is stepping away from silent processing. Simone is getting tired of carrying this alone. And I feel that matters because the inward phase has gone on long enough, too much circling, too much replaying, too much pain with no outlet. And I feel the next phase begins changing that. What advice does Spirit have for you right now? Here is the Ten of Cups. Beautiful. Spirit is saying do not put your life on pause just because someone else is finally waking up. Your joy matters now. Your inner peace matters now. Your emotional world does not need to wait for somebody else's timing. Let's get another advice card. Here is self-trust. Yes, exactly. This is one of your biggest lessons here, not shutting down. Not becoming numb, but trusting what you know without giving up your dignity to prove it, because sometimes when love is real, the hardest part is not the love itself. The hardest part is believing your own experience of it, especially when the outer world has not matched it yet. And I feel Spirit is helping you do that more and more. Let's see what this person would say to you if they could speak from the heart. Here is the first message. I know I heard something precious. Wow, yes, that fits completely. Here is another message. The silence I chose has become its own punishment. Now, yes, that feels very true. Here is another. I have cried over this more than I would ever admit. Wow. Yes, and that feels important because I do not think this person has looked emotionally untouched at all inside. Let's get one more. I want to tell you everything, but I do not know how to begin without facing what I damaged. Yes, and that is the threshold energy here. Because once a person wants truth, they also have to face consequence. The two come together. So Spirit is saying watch for momentum, not because momentum fixes the past, but because it shows the heart is no longer hiding. This person has crossed some line inside themselves. They are no longer only regretting. They are preparing to reveal. And once that happens, the tone of the whole connection changes. Because now the grief has direction. Now the remorse has somewhere to go. And now your own heart has something more visible to respond to. I feel this next stretch brings something more direct. In plain view, that is why the whole energy feels so close to change right now. Because once tears become truth, the connection cannot stay in the old shape anymore. It must either move toward healing or fully expose what healing would require from here. And I feel that exposure is already beginning now. The next movement may be soft, but it will carry real weight. Okay, let's keep going because I want to look more closely at what is happening inside this person now that the consequence has become impossible to ignore. What are they most afraid of if they step fully toward this? Here is the Tower. Wow. Yes, because I do not feel they can come towards you halfway and stay untouched. I feel they know this would shift their emotional world in a real way. Yes, there is also fear of accountability. They know that regret is not the same thing as repair. And if they come in now, they may have to face what they delayed, what they dismissed, or how long they let you carry pain without answers. So the fear here is not only emotional, it is moral too. What do they want most with you now? Here is the Lovers. Beautiful. So beneath all the distress, what they want is closeness, honesty, reunion of hearts. I do not feel they want to keep living on the outside of this forever. I feel there is something in them that wants a true place in your life again. Not only memory, not only regret, something actual, something chosen. And that matters because it shows the center of this is not empty. What would help this connection unfold in the healthiest way? Here is temperance. Wow, Spirit is saying balance, patience, emotional steadiness. This is not a bond that needs more panic. It needs enough softness for truth to land without becoming another wound. Let's get another card for what helps. Here is the Three of Pentacles. Yes, grounded effort matters. Consistency matters. Follow through matters if they want healing with you. It cannot stay only apology and no structure. What is the lesson you are meant to take from this phase? Here is the Queen of Swords. Wow. Yes, you are learning how to stay open without becoming blurry. You are learning how to feel compassion without abandoning your standards. And that is powerful because it means you can recognize someone else's sorrow without handing over your center to it. You can let truth rise while still staying rooted in what you need. What is the lesson they are meant to take from this phase? Here is the Hanged Man. Yes, this person has been forced to see themselves differently. They have had to sit inside the emotional result of their own choices. And I feel that perspective shift matters because they are starting to understand that pain delayed does not disappear. It ripens, it deepens, and eventually it asks to be faced. That is the lesson here. Let's get another card for them. Here is Heart Chakra. Beautiful. So I feel they are being pushed to live more honestly from the heart, not only suffer privately in the heart, but allowing regret to transform behavior, timing, and courage. Let's see what else they would say to you. I know I made choices that broke something. Wow, yes, that feels very true. Here is another. I kept telling myself I would fix this later and later became too heavy. Yes. And here is another. I do not think I can live with this much longer without telling you the truth. Wow, yes. What are you being asked to remember while all of this unfolds? Here is the Empress. Beautiful. Spirit wants you rooted in your worth, your calm, and your ability to receive wisely. You do not need to perform compassion. You do not need to prove softness. You already hold more grace than this person may have known how to meet before. And that means you can remain steady in your truth while they decide whether they are ready to come forward in a real way. Let's get one more. Here's the Star. Wow. Yes. Stay open to healing. Stay open to a better outcome than what has been here before. But do not let another person's collapse become your emotional center, because I feel the deepest guidance here is this. Let their regret reveal them, but let their actions define the next chapter. That is how you stay in your power while the connection enters a more visible phase. And I do feel that visible phase is coming much closer now. Because what has been buried is too strong to remain hidden for much longer. Their heart is louder now. Their conscience is louder now, and their need to stop running from the truth is only getting stronger from here. Let's get one more layer. What was their coping pattern? Here is the Four of Swords. Yes, they paused instead of speaking. They kept thinking time would make this easier, but time did not soften it. Time amplified it. Sometimes silence looks calm, but inside it is decay with no release. And I feel that is why their emotional state looks so cracked open now. They are no longer protected by the story they told themselves before. Reality has stepped in, and reality is asking for truth. It is not abstract now. It is personal. Now, your absence gave the lesson a face, and that is why it hurts this much. They are not grieving a theory. They are grieving what they damaged. That is why their pride is gone, and only truth feels possible now. All right, let's get deeper into the messages now, because I feel there is a lot this person has wanted to say but has not fully known how to bring out clearly. Here is the first message. I keep praying for you, and I hate that it took losing you to understand how much I needed you. Wow. Yes, that feels very central, because this is not only guilt, this is longing mixed with devotion. It feels like somebody calling your name inwardly, asking for another chance, asking for relief, asking for some opening. Here is another. I know I chose badly, and now I live with the shape of what those choices cost me. Yes, that is powerful. Because it shows ownership, they are not only sad, they are seeing the chain decision to consequence, avoidance to loss. Distance to grief, that is a real awakening. Here is another. I think about what I threw away, and it breaks me more than I let anyone see. People around them may know they are off, but I do not think everyone understands how broken open they feel. Here is, I would give anything to go back and make different choices while I still had the chance. Wow, yes, that is very wrong. Because it shows they are no longer romanticizing the past. They are mourning it. They are grieving what they mishandled. What are they still hesitant about? Here is the Seven of Wands. Yes, there is still resistance in them. They worry about your response. They worry that they may have hurt you too deeply. They worry about whether there is still a door left open at all. Let's clarify the Seven of Wands. Here is the Five of Pentacles. Wow. Yes, another fear is being shut out, and one more. Here is Judgment. Beautiful. So the reason this still moves is because the inner call has become stronger than the hesitation. Their pain is no longer passive. It is pushing them toward honesty. What do they secretly hope for? Here is the Six of Cups. Yes, they hope the sweetness is not dead. They hope there is still room for something human and healing to happen if they finally stop pretending they can carry this alone. What does Spirit most want you to know about that? Here is the Queen of Wands. Well, Spirit wants you to remember the strength of your presence. Your energy did not leave them lightly. The way you love, the way you shine, the way you bring warmth, and the way you leave a trace in people have all stayed with this person. And that matters here. I know you are the one I keep asking heaven about. Wow, yes. That line is strong because I do think there is prayer energy here. Not only wishing, not only missing, something almost desperate in the soul, like they want help reaching you again. Here is another. The more I pray, the more I know I still have to be brave enough to speak myself. Yes, that says so much. Because prayer without action does not repair what choice is damaged. And I think they are beginning to understand that now, what would help this next phase most. Here is the Knight of Pentacles. Beautiful. Spirit is saying slow sincerity is better than dramatic collapse. If they come forward, let it be because they are becoming steadier. Not only more emotional. That matters deeply here. Let's get another card. Here is the Wheel of Fortune. Wow. Yes, timing is turning. The cycle is shifting. And I feel that is why the energy looks so ready to move now. What stayed locked inside is starting to lean toward confession. That change is real. What are you being asked to do with that? Here is the Empress and the Queen of Swords. Beautiful. Softness and clarity together. You do not need to harden. You do not need to chase. And you do not need to rescue anybody from the wreckage of their own decisions. You simply remain in your worth and let the next move reveal what they are actually ready for. Because if they want prayer to become reality, then the next thing must be truth with shape, not only regret, not only tears, something real, something chosen. Let's get one more message from their heart. I think I have cried enough to know that silence is no longer protection. It is punishment now. Wow. Yes, and that really is the center of this reading. Their choices hurt you, but now those same choices are breaking them open too, and I feel that is why the next step matters so much. Because it tells you whether sorrow can transform into courage, clear expression, and more mature movement, and I do feel they are getting very close to that threshold now. Close enough that the connection may start feeling different very quickly, because once a person stops hiding from their own regret, their energy changes, their choices change. And the whole bond begins moving in a different direction from there. Let's get one more card here. What deepened this? Here's the Five of Cups. Yes, grief did. The loss became real, and the heart could not pretend anymore. That is why the prayer is so constant now. It reaches for you still. All right, let's close this out with some final messages because this reading feels like it is bringing grief, prayer, and truth toward a much more visible threshold. Here's the first closing message. I know I cannot keep carrying this in silence. This person has been carrying more pain, more regret, and more longing than they have been comfortable admitting. And I feel the reason it matters so much now is because the consequence is not fading. It is deepening. It is pressing harder. Here is the next message. I pray for you because you are still the one my heart turns toward when everything feels empty. Wow. Yes. That is very important because it shows this is not only guilt. There is devotion here. There is ache here. Here is another one. I know that if I keep doing nothing, I may lose the chance to ever make this right. Yes, and that realization feels like one of the biggest turning points here because time no longer feels endless to them. Your life no longer feels paused. It changes the pressure, and it changes the choices that come next. What does Spirit most want you to remember? Here is the Ten of Pentacles. Beautiful. Spirit wants you to remember that your future is not meant to revolve around somebody else's mistakes. Your life is full. Your path is rich. And anything entering your world should add steadiness, care, and substance. Let's get another advice card. Here is the star. Yes, stay open to healing. Stay open to a brighter direction than what has been here before. But do not let another person's sorrow become your emotional burden. And let's get one more. Here's the Queen of Swords exactly. Clarity belongs here. Truth belongs here. Boundaries belong here. You can understand why somebody is grieving now and still require them to show up in a way that honors your peace. What is the highest potential here if both people honor what is being revealed? Here is the Two of Cups and the King of Pentacles. Beautiful. So the highest potential is mutual feeling meeting, dependability, not only tears. Not only regret. Something with actual weight that matters, because this reading is not only about pain surfacing, it is about whether pain becomes honest enough to heal through action. What would they say to you if no pride and no fear were left in the way? Here's the first message: I should have chosen differently, and I live with that every day now. Wow, yes, here's another. You deserved better from me sooner, yes, and that feels important. Because the reading is not pretending that harm left no mark. I do think this person understands now that your heart had to carry a lot without enough care from them. Here's another one. I still ask for you in the dark when no one else is around to hear me. Beautiful, let's get one final oracle card. Here's truth. Wow, and here's another. Atonement, beautiful. So I feel the closing energy is very simple. Truth wants to be spoken now. Truth wants to be lived now. Truth wants weight now. So the final message I am getting is this. Tears and regret are real here. The cost of their choices is breaking them open because what they lost became too meaningful to ignore. And yes, I do feel you are still the one they pray for. Not because prayer erases what happened, not because prayer fixes everything by itself, but because the soul keeps turning toward what it knows it mishandled. Spirit is also saying this. Do not confuse suffering with transformation. Their pain may be genuine, their remorse may be genuine, their prayers may be genuine. But what matters after that is whether the person builds on what they now know, whether they choose differently, whether they become brave enough to turn sorrow into honest effort. If you have been feeling the heaviness or sensing that something inside them is collapsing, I do not think you are imagining that at all. I think you are reading a real unraveling. Their inner world has changed. Their threshold has changed. And now the bond is asking for something more visible. For now, stay calm, stay grounded, stay in your worth, because the more you do that, the more clearly you will see whether this person's regret is ready to become cleaner contact, clearer truth, and steadier presence. And here is one final closing message. I think I have reached the point where saying nothing would be more cruel than speaking. Wow. Yes, that feels like the ending. The silence has done all it can do. Now consequence gives birth to confession, and I do feel what comes next tells you everything about whether this connection is ready to become clearer, steadier, and much more real than before. Watch what follows. Prayer and truth toward a much more visible threshold. Here's the first closing message. I know I cannot keep carrying this in silence. This person has been carrying more pain, more regret, and more longing than they have been comfortable admitting. And I feel the reason it matters so much now is because the consequence is not fading. It is deepening. It is pressing harder. Here is the next message. I pray for you because you are still the one my heart turns toward when everything feels empty. Wow. Yes. That is very important because it shows this is not only guilt. There is devotion here. There is ache here. Here is another one. I know that if I keep doing nothing, I may lose the chance to ever make this right. Yes, and that realization feels like one of the biggest turning points here, because time no longer feels endless to them. Your life no longer feels paused. It changes the pressure, and it changes the choices that come next. What does Spirit most want you to remember? Here is the Ten of Pentacles. Beautiful. Spirit wants you to remember that your future is not meant to revolve around